All right, here we go. Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library, chapter 40. Really? Kyle was astonished. You've got nothing? If you remember, before the weekend, Kyle had used his phone an expert, and he asked to talk to his brother Curtis, wanting to know if Curtis knew anything about the authors that have been selected for the game. Well, said Curtis, the only connection I can see is Thomas Wolfe wrote Look Homeward, Angel, and Lewis Carroll wrote Through the Looking Glass. Both titles have the word look in them, but the two books are otherwise completely different. The two authors as well. Kyle and his whole team stood in stunned silence until Sierra started jumping up and down. Of course, she shouted. Your time is up, announced Dr. Zinchenko. Okay, Kyle said to the computer screen. Thanks, Curtis. That was really helpful. It was, said Sierra, daintily clapping her hands together like a very polite seal. The computer screen faded to black. What's up? Asked Miguel. I think I know how to crack the statue code. There's a code? Said Akimi. Who knew? It'll take time, said Sierra, and I need a computer. Okay, said Kyle, who was sort of shocked to see Sierra so completely jazzed. We'll be in our meeting room putting together a list of new Dewey Decimal numbers from the Bibliomania cards, so we're ready to hit the ground running when the doors reopen at 10 tomorrow morning. While Sierra settled in at the desktop computer pad, the rest of the team returned to the Bibliomania board game. We should just start flipping over cards and putting together a list of call numbers, Kyle suggested. Sounds like a plan, said Akimi. She plucked a purple card out of a pile. Lose a turn was all that was printed on the other side. Try a different color, urged Miguel. Akimi flipped up a blue card. Take an extra turn was printed on it. So Akimi flipped over all the other cards while Miguel flipped over all the purples. The purple cards all said lose a turn. The blue ones all said take an extra turn. Kyle had been checking out the red and maroon piles. The reds all say pick a yellow card, he reported. The maroons say grab a green. The grays do the same thing, said Miguel. Only they say pick a pink. The tan cards say go grab an orange. So that leaves the colors we've already played. Kyle flipped over the yellow card. In the square root of 48,629.2027129. What the? Said Akimi. Hang on, said Miguel. There's a calculator app in this desktop computer. Kyle read the rest of the cards. The final half of 4-40-30. Well, that's 2, 20, 15 again, said Sierra. And the sum of the square root of 48,000 whatever is 220.5203, said Miguel. The King James Bible we already found. Akimi flipped through the rest of the yellow cards. Same with these. They all send us to the religion section to find that Bible verse. Ditto with the greens, reported Miguel. All clues lead to bird songs, warbles, and whistles. And the pinks all lead back to 27.4, said Kyle. I guess they really wanted to make sure we found get to know your local library. Which leaves the wild cards, said Akimi. She examined the orange deck. Find a rhyme for cart and paperbacks, smart and zodiacs, tart and potato sacks. The art and artifacts room, said Miguel with a sigh. Where, Akimi continued, we need to find a rhyme for Randy, Sandy, or Brandy. The Willy Wonka candy, said Miguel. So, said Kyle, I'm guessing the Bibliomania game was only supposed to help us find the 4 clues we've already found. But we need to know more numbers, said Miguel. because a library should be a no place for nobodies. When Miguel made this pun, Kyle and Akimi both groaned. But then Kyle thought of something. This is why Mr. Lemoncello called our time out a bonus. He knew we'd need a ton of time to find a new source of numbers. Just then, Sierra burst into the meeting room. You guys, I found a whole bunch of new numbers. What? Said Kyle, Akimi, and Miguel. Where? Up on the ceiling. Chapter 41. You need to look up at the Wonder Dome, said Sierra. Huh? Said Kyle. Sierra and her whole team were standing together outside the door to Community Meeting Room B. She hadn't been this happy or excited in a long time. Sierra, said Akimi, what exactly are you suggesting we all give ourselves? A crick in the neck by staring at the ceiling? Okay, this is a game some of us play online called What's the Connection? I put up a list of authors and you have to figure out how they're linked by the titles of their books. Whoa, said Akimi sort of sarcastically. Sounds like fun. It is, but believe me, it's not easy. What'd you figure out? Asked Miguel. Well, like Curtis said, Thomas Wolfe wrote Look Homeward, Angel, and Lewis Carroll wrote Through the Looking Glass. That got me thinking, and running computer searches. Stephen Sondheim wrote a book called Look, I Made a Hat. Maya Angelou wrote Even the Stars Look Lonesome. And Pseudonymous Bosch wrote This Isn't What It Looks Like. They all have look in the title, said Kyle. What about the other 5 authors? Asked Akimi. Did they write look books too? No, they're up there for a different word. Huh? Booker T. Washington wrote Up from Slavery, and Shel Silverstein wrote Falling Up. And Dr. Seuss, said Kyle. Great day for Up. George Orwell did Coming Up for Air, and Todd Strasser has a book called If I Grow Up. So the 10 statues give us 2 words, said Miguel. Yep, look and up. So I did. I looked up at the Wonder Dome. There, did you see it? The string of numbers that just drifted across the 200 screen under the Star of David. 220.5203, said Miguel. Akimi knuckle punched him in the arm. This is just like that bonus code thingy you showed me on the school bus. Of course, said Kyle. This is a Lemoncello game. He always hides secret codes in screwy places. Way to go, Sierra. Thanks, said Sierra, realizing how much more fun it was to play this kind of game with real friends instead of virtual ones on the internet. But we already found that same 200s number playing Bibliomania, said Miguel. True, said Kyle. Check out the sections for numbers the cards wouldn't give us. Everybody craned their necks and focused on the graphics swimming across the 10 panels overhead. Here comes another one, said Sierra. In the 600s, right underneath the floating stethoscope. Got it, said Kyle. 624.193. Woohoo, said Akimi. Sierra, you're my new hero, said Kyle. You saved the day. Sierra blushed. Thanks. The spinner, said Akimi. Huh? Said Miguel. That was another clue. The Bibliomania game was pointing us to the ceiling too, because in Dewey Decimal mode, the Wonder Dome looks like a giant 3D version of the board game Spinner. Awesome, Sierra, said Miguel. Absolutely awesome. Sierra and her teammates stared up at the ceiling for over an hour. At 12:30, they finally lay down on the floor so they wouldn't cramp their neck muscles. Because every 15 minutes, the animated ceiling looped through call numbers for every Dewey Decimal room in the library, except one. And then the sequence repeated itself. How come there's no 300s number, said Miguel. Probably because that's the one book we really, really, really need, said Kyle. That Lemoncello, said Akemi. What a comedian. All right, we will stop there for today.